Dani Alves is a renowned world-class footballer who has played for great clubs like Barcelona, PSG, and other clubs across various leagues. He is one of the most revered football players on the face of the planet to date, and it comes as a surprise that he has been cited by a woman, a 23-year-old woman in Spain, who has now accused Dani Alves of sexually molesting, assaulting, and raping her in a nightclub between the 30th and 31st of December 2022. Now, this is an ongoing case, and when you get to hear the accounts of the woman, the accounts of Dani Alves, how this is spiraling to affect Alves' family, how the woman, the alleged victim, is also seemingly traumatized, and how this is playing out down a roller coaster in the lives of these people, you are going to be marveled as to how some few minutes of pleasure can just transmogrify and annihilate the happiness and stability across families. This is the true crime story of Dani Alves and his ongoing case involving him being charged for the rape of a 23-year-old woman in Spain. If you are ready for this ride, buckle up and let's go. Now, as at the time of making this video, Dani Alves is currently in jail because, among other reasons, he poses a flight risk, and one of the ways to ensure that he is available for the trial is for him to be kept in jail. 2. The alleged victim has actually refused to take any form of monetary settlement outside of court and is rather pushing that the only thing that she wants is a trial, a prosecution, and if found guilty, Dani Alves serves a jail term. I think this is great. Yeah, it goes to level the playground. If he's guilty, it goes to level the playground, because then it means that you can't get away with things just because you have the money to pay people off. As it stands now, it is a case that is yet to be decided in court, so nobody can say Dani Alves is guilty or the alleged victim is lying. It is a standoff waiting to be determined by the courts. So this video is actually going to toe the middle line and just speak to information that is out there on this, and everything I say, in as much as I've done some research, is going to be qualified by the word alleged. Now, aside these two things that you have to take note of, the third one is that if found guilty, Dani Alves could serve up to 18 years in prison, which will definitely mark the end of his football career, which has spanned over 2 decades. And I think this would be a very sad way to go. But then, let's get into the issue. We are going to chronicle the beginning of it through to where it has gotten to date. Now, it was revealed in a statement by a woman who lodged a complaint that she had been assaulted sexually, that the person who allegedly did that to her was Dani Alves. Now, his accuser, according to a source she spoke to, explained to the Catalan police that the Brazilian player locked her in a bathroom in the VIP area of a well-known nightclub in Barcelona and then raped her. Alves, who had appeared before the magistrate, also denied having assaulted the woman. And according to this woman, she went to the nightclub with some friends on December 30th and was invited by a group of Mexican origin to go up to the VIP area with them. She claims a waiter approached them and invited them, and that at first they declined the offer. But the client insisted, and the waiter remarked that he was a friend. So in the end, they agreed, and there were 2 men at the VIP table, with one of them being Dani Alves and the other a friend of Dani Alves. Now, per this woman's account, Dani Alves immediately started fooling around with the three women, hitting on them a lot and touching them. Subsequently, the player went after the victim. He allegedly grabbed her hand tightly and pulled it towards his manhood, a motion he reportedly repeated several times despite the alleged victim's refusal and actually urging him to stop. Alves then pointed to a door which the victim did not know about and urged her to follow him inside. Now, it turns out that it was the door leading to the washroom or the toilet, as some would call it. And according to this alleged victim, once in the toilet, Alves forced her to sit on top of him. Then he threw her to the floor, forced her to perform fellatio, which she actively resisted. He slapped her, lifted her off the floor, and penetrated her until he ejaculated. This is what the alleged victim is saying per a report that she allegedly gave to a media outlet. Now, it is also reported, allegedly, that the victim was taken to the hospital clinic, the Barcelona, where she was examined for biological traces. Now, 2 days after the alleged assault, the woman went to report the incident to the Mossos Esquadra. She handed over the medical reports and also the dress she was wearing. And from this point, the Central Unit for Sexual Assaults took charge of the investigation. So this is coming from the side of this alleged 23-year-old victim. Now, Dani Alves then also took to social media and offered his version of on the rape allegations that was leveled against him by this woman, and this was prior to he getting arrested. So prior to his arrest, Dani Alves offered his version of the story, stating that his friends and family know the sexual assault claims are not true. Now, for me, not to judge him, but I wonder how his friends and family would know. You were at a club. Your friends and family were not with you except for that one friend. They wouldn't know what you actually did. Not that you're a bad person, but alcohol makes people do things. Drugs make people do things. It hasn't been substantiated that he took any of these substances, but the point I'm trying to drive home is they can't be in a position to be able to completely know that you are not guilty. They would have that faith and trust in you, but it's because of where their loyalty and allegiance lie. But it's not because they can absolutely determine. So, Alves, 39, then went on to deny knowing the alleged victim. He said he didn't know her at all, but then he admitted to being at the club that night. And in a video released by the Spanish media, on January 5th, Alves says he never invaded anyone's space without consent. And I quote, this is what Alves said: "I would like to deny everything. I was in that place. I was with other people enjoying myself. Everyone who knows me knows that I like to dance. Enjoying myself, but without invading other people's space. Always respecting the environment. These years, I have never invaded someone's space without authorization." Now, quotes closed. So, I don't know. That statement in itself also begs a key question. If he says, "These years, I have never invaded someone's space without authorization," then I'm wondering, is he trying to unconsciously imply that there were years before these years that he invaded someone's space without authorization? Well, that is food for thought. But Alves is currently in custody without bail after this 23-year-old woman brought up this charge against him, accusing him that he had raped her at the certain nightclub in Barcelona on New Year's Eve. Now, after bringing this claim up on January 2nd, the young woman formalized the complaint and officials opened an investigation into what had happened. So from that point, Alves was detained at the Mossos de Esquadra police station in Les Corts before getting transferred to the Ciutat de la Justícia in Barcelona. Now, Dani Alves oddly comes out to mention and talk about bathroom policies. And it seemed a bit odd. He mentioned that people at a nightclub don't need permission to enter a bathroom where the crime would have taken place per this woman's allegation. Now, I haven't been to a nightclub before, so I can't speak to this. I don't know if this is a standard policy across the world for nightclubs, or is something standard for some countries, or is something that is more of a practice and he thinks should be a standard. But it sounds a bit off, I think, especially when it has to do with bathrooms designated for various genders. I don't think you can just barge into any of them if it doesn't correspond with your gender without even asking if someone is there. But again, I haven't been to that club before, so I digress. Now, I quote what Dani Alves said. When you choose to go to the bathroom, you don't have to ask who is in the bathroom to go. I am very sorry, but I don't know who that lady is. I don't know her name. I don't know her. I never saw her in my life. Quote closed. Now, we have seen the official account the lady gave to the police, and we have seen the account that Dani Alves came on social media to give, and give to some, reportedly, give to some outlets as well. But then, he was brought before a judge so that officially they can take his version of the story, or his version of events as they allegedly unfolded. It turns out that that is where the major problems started from, because Dani Alves actually gave 3 different versions, and it sort of showed a narcissistic attitude before the judge. So, Dani Alves, who has spent his second night in the Brands 1 prison at that time, because he had been accused of the rape of that 23-year-old girl, was now brought before the judge. Now, the investigating judge accepted the request of the prosecution and the private prosecution exercised by the complainant and sent the footballer to jail, like I said, because the magistrate considered that he presents a high flight risk given his economic capacities and that he resides outside of Spain, in Mexico. But when the judge had the opportunity, or when Alves had the opportunity to be brought before the judge for them to take his version of accounts, these are the contradictions that came up. Now, as for the statement of Alves before the judge, Alves acknowledged, according to a media outlet, that he was in that nightclub, but then he argued that only for a short time, and then denied the sexual assault attributed to him by the victim. Now, in the opinion of the investigating judge, this contradicts the evidence gathered by the Catalan police, who have questioned several witnesses, including security personnel of the nightclub. So they actually have a very good idea of how things played out, and Alves's version given to this judge was totally contrary to what police were gathering from their investigations. Now, again, as reported by these media outlets, the footballer allegedly said 3 different things. First, he said he did not know the girl he allegedly sexually assaulted. You know, this is similar to what he said on social media. And then he again went on to say that he had seen her, but then nothing happened. And then finally, he went on to say that she was the one who jumped on him. Now, if you are that judge, how would you view this man's credibility? From going from, I haven't seen her before in my life, to now saying, I saw her briefly, to now saying that, oh, she's the one who jumped on me. Now, in addition to the channel, it seems that the footballer showed narcissistic behavior, believing he was innocent throughout his presence before the judge who is investigating his case. And I think that that's the last thing you would want to do as an accused. You don't want to set an impression to the judge who is sitting on your case that you are actually trying to lie and you feel you are entitled to be innocent because of probably your status. Now, let's talk about the biological samples that were picked from the crime scene, because this is an alleged rape case and these things become key at the center of the investigation. So, the police have also collected biological samples in the toilet where the events allegedly occurred, and they had viewed the security cameras of the premises as well. And like I said earlier, the victim or the alleged victim of this alleged rape case has also rejected any form of compensation from the footballer. Her goal is that justice is done and that this Brazilian footballer pays with jail term for what, according to her version, happened that night at the nightclub. So this complainant, in her statement to the judge, revealed that the Catalan, and explained to the police, of course, revealed that the Brazilian player locked her in the bathroom of the VIP area and forced himself on her. And for that, she is not ready to take any compensation. She is just pushing for justice to take its course. And if found guilty, Dani Alves serves his jail term. And if these things are true, or if they are true, I respect her so much for not falling for money, but rather pushing for that justice which will serve as an example and also empower other women out there that this cannot happen to us. We cannot take this because the person is rich. If we come out, we get our justice. Now, she further went on to say that the footballer also didn't even use a condom in the alleged rape, and that the young woman, again, is saying that she had to use antiviral drugs to prevent sexually transmitted infections, and that she is under psychiatric treatment and she even avoids following the news. And that's the trauma I was talking about in my introduction. Because imagine having gone through this ordeal, and with not just with anybody, with a big star like Dani Alves. There is the intimidation from even higher people who would prefer you just keep quiet or take the money. And if you decide to go down the route that she's going, you can imagine the backlash that will be coming towards her. Not to talk of the trauma that comes with the rape itself. So I believe that she's going through a lot. I pray that she gets the strength to do so. Now, the hospital has sent her a complete treatment aimed at avoiding any type of infectious diseases since he did not use a condom. And she also has a pharmacological treatment with anxiolytics to be able to sleep. Now, her lawyer also praised the police for how quickly they handled the issue. In fact, the sex crimes unit in Barcelona just took over the case and they moved so swiftly. And luckily also for the alleged victim, she left the club by an ambulance and went straight to the central unit of sexual aggressions to lodge her complaint. So unlike most victims of sexual violence who, because of trauma, would or may have washed their underwear, she did not have time to think about that. She was quickly taken care of, leaving the evidence there. Now, her lawyer wanted to clarify that the young woman did not consume alcohol that night. And I think it's a key thing to establish because, like I said, alcohol makes people do a lot of crazy things. That's how come, personally, I don't even take alcohol. So her lawyer has come out to boldly state, and I'm sure there will be some form of medical evidence to back this, that the young woman did not consume any alcohol that night. She offered a concise statement without any contradiction, and that is rare. That's what her lawyer said. Many women suffer post-traumatic stress and forget details. They remember later, and that does not invalidate the truth. So if you compare her testimony and how she recounts it again and again, it's consistent. Nothing changes. Contrary to what is happening with Dani Alves' testimony, where the story has developed from 3 different versions. So straight away, you can tell that Dani Alves' credibility might be in the mud. Now, her lawyer also commended the judge for the work that he's put in, and also helping to detain Alves so that the threat of him being a flight risk does not materialize. But heading into this trial, so far, the things that are circulating information out there, here are 5 pieces of evidence against Dani Alves, which might be key in the upcoming trial. 1. The evidence in Dani Alves' own case testimony. That is, the first has to do with the contradictions in his statements. You know, he came out to declare 3 different things. First, he said he did not know the girl he allegedly sexually assaulted. Then he said he had seen her, but that nothing happened. And then finally, he stated that it was her who threw herself on him. He has put his credibility in the mud, and by so doing, it makes the alleged victim more believable. Now, the second evidence that is also going to be key, most likely, is the dress and the victim's medical report. Obviously, once any sexual activity has occurred, the fluids are key, and the fluids don't lie when the tests are done. So 2 days after the alleged assault, like I said, the woman had went to report the incident to the Mossos Esquadra, and she was handed over the medical report and also the dress she was wearing. So these things are there, solid evidence. And he didn't use a condom, so his semen would definitely be on her. I don't know how it played out. I know they found some also at the washroom that this thing allegedly happened at. Now, contrary to what Alves had said that, he had never seen her before, blah, 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 I don't know if he knew this, but there's a third evidence again, which is there were security cameras at the nightclub. So there are definitely security footages. Granted, the cameras were functioning. And according to a newspaper, Alves and the woman were inside the bathroom for about a quarter of an hour, and this is shown from the recordings of the security cameras. So they have them on tape. And you can't run away from that. And the fourth is that the complainant was able to testify that Alves had a crescent moon tattoo on his abdomen. So she was so specific and accurate in her accounts. She was even able to mention and describe a tattoo that he had on his abdomen. And if nothing amorous and relatively sexual had happened, how would a total stranger get to know of this? Because it's not something you will see on him unless you got that close and intimate with him. And the fifth is the recording of a Mosso de Esquadra. And that's the forensic police found evidence to support the complainant after she was accidentally recorded by the camera of a Mosso de Esquadra. So these are the things that are running against Dani Alves, barring any other evidence from coming up. We are hearing rumors that some witnesses are also coming up, and so far so good. The case or the lead up to the trial looks very gloomy for Dani Alves. He's actually not having such a good time in prison, and he was actually transferred from where he was being kept in jail to a different jail for his safety and mental health, because there were suspicions that where he was sort of in a group jail, and if he had to bath or use the washroom, there were suspicions some of the inmates might take pictures of him to later use to blackmail him. So he has been transported to a new jail where he would have his own private washroom. But this is like falling from grace to grass. And I don't want to say I pray this is not true. I don't want to be biased because I respect the trauma that rape victims go through. But I will cite this advice that if it turns out this is true, if you are a man or a guy watching this video, heed this advice. If men or if males do not stop thinking with their loins or their D or their dicks and use their head, which would enable them to respect people, respect women, you might be the next person to find yourself in a rape situation. Because the sexual urges, if you entertain them and you don't control your lust, you might lose touch with your common sense and your self-control. Now, being objective, I'll still continue to stand in the middle and await how this trial will go. I don't want to conclude on anything yet because there are times when it starts like this and along the line, the things just change and you begin to realize that the person who allegedly looked suspiciously guilty is actually innocent and the person who looked like a victim is actually a culprit. But our heart goes out to the family of the victim, the family of the alleged victim, the alleged victim herself, Dani Alves too, because he's innocent until proven guilty, and his family. His wife is actually going through a lot. She lost her mom just few days after that. This has also happened to her husband, and I know it's a very traumatic thing to go through as a spouse of such a popular figure, and the case also at hand involving rape, which then brings in another woman into the equation. But I pray they have the strength to endure, because actually they would have to endure a lot leading up to this trial and thereafter. Subscribe to the channel if you already haven't done so. We appreciate your support so much. And please, just so we know the type of content that you want us to put out more, like the video if you enjoyed it. It gives us feedback on what to keep producing for you. And as I always say, please keep an eye out and stay safe out there. We'll catch you next time.